أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله السلام عليكم. Welcome to the Legacy of the Prophets podcast. It's Miriam here with you, hoping to light up your hearts. Make yourselves comfortable. The hearth is lit, the embers are glowing, the stars are twinkling, and our journey begins. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لا إله إلا الله محمد رسول الله رب اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. Welcome to the second of 2 episodes on the life of NUH aleyhisalam. We heard in the last episode this passionate dua from NUH aleyhisalam. O my Lord, do not leave of the unbelievers a single one on earth, for if you leave any of them, they will but must lead your devotees, and they will breed none but wicked, ungrateful ones. O my Lord, forgive me, my parents, all who enter my house in faith, and all believing men and believing women, and to the wrongdoers grant no increase but in punishment. And Allah, mighty and majestic, answered him, O Nuh, construct an ark under our eyes and our inspiration, and address me no further on behalf of those who are in sin, for they are about to be overwhelmed in the flood. Construct a what? An ark? Where? On a mountaintop? Not by the sea? We know that NUH alayhi was a man of great unwavering faith in Allah, and these questions never appeared, even within the secret recesses of his mind. He resolved at once to carry out the will of Allah, mighty and majestic. He said no more to these people who had rejected him for all those hundreds of years, and set to work. It is said Sayyidina Nuh was not a builder. It's said the rocky mountaintops were bare of trees. It is said that he had to first plant trees and then wait 100 years for them to grow, and then, with the help of Jibreel, peace upon him, he built the ark. Allah, mighty and majestic, says, be, and it is. Whenever a servant of Allah undertakes his work, he is assisted on all sides, and what he undertakes becomes easy. Have you seen that foolish old man now? He thinks he's a forester. He walks around with a sack of seeds and a shovel these days. Haven't heard a peep of foolishness out of him for a while. They say 100 years passed. They say the trees he'd planted became strong and straight and sturdy. Look where they grow. When they were huge, Jibreel taught him to cut them down. He taught him to strip off the bark. He taught him to plane them into broad planks. Well, now the crazy old forester thinks he's a lumberjack. Go on up. See that pile of planks he's milled. What's he up to, do you think? The building began. They laid planks side by side, lashed them together with stout iron nails. The ark began to take shape. The people came in droves to ridicule and taunt. An ark? On a mountain top? And where will it sail? To the stars? Sayyidina Nuh hammered a hefty plank into place. Ridicule us now. We, in our turn, will look down and ridicule you. You will come to know who will be put to shame and suffer terrible punishment. Allah had told Sayyidina Nuh to watch for a sign from him, and when he saw it, he was to gather his people and go to the ark. That sign was that water would spew forth from his bread oven. The place of fire and heat where he lives? Nuh, the man of great faith, waited. The chorus of ridicule grew around him as word spread about the ark. But soon people forgot about it and went on in their heedlessness. And then it happened. The oven in Sayyidina Nuh's house had suddenly become like a great cooking pot, filled with boiling water, glipping and goggling and throwing its steam out. He strode from house to house, gathering his family and his few followers, and they climbed to the top of the mountain, to the ark. And when they arrived, it is said they saw a marvelous sight. Animals had gathered around the ark, milling and trotting, trudging and waddling, loping and hobbling. Allah, mighty and majestic, had told Nuh what to do, and he began at once. The animals turned to watch him as he drew near. He grabbed a male buffalo by the horns with his right hand and a female buffalo by the ears with his left hand. They came with him without resistance. But still it took his greatest effort to get them up the planks, onto the ark, and down into the bottom deck where he wanted the largest and heaviest animals to be. Along narrow passages and down narrow steps he struggled again and again, each time now with a pair of bison, now a pair of horses, now 2 brawny oxen, a big black bull and his mate, a dear brown cow. Next, donkeys and goats and sheep. They all submitted themselves to him and settled agreeably into their places. And when the mammals were loaded, he went back for ostriches and peacocks and chickens and ducks and turkeys and geese and settled them in among the rafters. And then to his family he said, "Embark on the ark in the name of Allah, whether it move or it be at rest, for my Lord is, be sure, oft forgiving and most merciful." We do know there are other scholars who still feel it was all of the animals that were in creation at that time. We know from the Quran that Allah Mighty and Majestic is continuously creating new species, and so it is certainly possible that all the varied species of animals on the earth today did not yet exist at the time of NUH aleyhisalam, and so it is possible that the animals that went onto the ark in pairs were both wild and tame together, and that in fact they were patient with each other and did not attack each other. We don't know, and that's okay. The other thing that scholars discuss is whether the flood was over the whole earth or just over a certain area. The idea that the flood was in a certain area and that the animals were the ones they would need to start a new life after the flood is the most widely accepted one. Off in the distance, the sky grew dark and gloomy. A rage of black clouds menaced the eastern sky and then filled the whole sky. Just as they boarded the vessel, Allah Mighty and Majestic said, "O sky, release your torrents. O earth, open your floodgates." The sky seemed to close in on itself, and massive walls of water exploded from it. On the earth, every possible crack opened and gushed with waters from deep beneath the surface. Every river overflowed its banks. Every stream and fountain spewed forth water. From above and from below, the surging torrents joined in a matter that Allah Mighty and Majestic had measured precisely. Before long, the water was washing up the mountainside, and a tide of water flooded up under the ark and lifted it free of the land. It floated on walls of water that towered like mountains. There was nothing to hear but reeling winds and deafening, roaring, crashing waves, nothing to see but roiling clouds and angry seas. No meadows, no hills or deserts, no creatures, nor farmers, nor shepherds with their herds, no birds of prey. Not a single flying creature could survive that sky. Suddenly Sayyidina Nuh saw his son struggling in the waves. Come here, come aboard. No, thanks, Father. I don't need your ark. I'll swim to that mountain peak over there. It will keep me safe until the storm is gone. And just then a wall of water crashed between them, and Sayyidina Nuh's son was ripped from his sight and washed away forever. Allah Mighty and Majestic tells us that the avalanche of water from the sky met the explosion of water from under the earth in a matter He had ordained perfectly, and everything was swallowed in the raging tides. Think of it. Out of the terrifying darkness and tumult looms up a great vessel made, the Quran tells us, made of broad wooden planks, alwah, and great nails, ad-dusur, and caulked with palm fibers.
وَحَمَلْنَاهُ عَلَى ذَاتِ أَلْوَاحٍ وَدُسُرٍ.
It towers levels high with a roof. It sails easily between the churning waves as if the water knows it and surrenders to its touch. Against that powerful raging water, it is just a weak thing made of planks and nails, and yet it is the means by which Allah Mighty and Majestic cherishes and protects those who turn to Him, even now. From then, on that day, from the greatest, most terrible flood the earth has ever seen, all the way down through our days today, through the most terrible things the earth has ever seen, He cherishes and protects us from that when we turn to Him. If you could enter that ark and be out of the din of the flood, you would hear the name of Allah echoing off every rafter. You would hear, "Praise to Allah who has saved us from those who reject and scorn, who has saved us from the great deceiver and his wicked promise." But just think of how it must have been aboard that ark. All those pairs of animals carefully loaded and stowed, all those people watching the thrashing waters swallowing the world they had known. If you could enter and ride, if you could enter and ride, you would taste the sweetness and certainty of Allah's mercy, and all fear would leave you. You would utter, "What has he gained who's lost Allah? And what has he lost who's found Allah?" We don't know how long that flood lasted. There are details that suggested it lasted this or that long, such as that the ark made tawaf around the Kaaba, or Nuh aleyhisalam sent birds forth as scouts. But those details are not given in the Quran or the Hadiths. They come instead from the traditions of this story, which tells of a real-life event which real live people lived, and so immediately and forever after, through the ages, have been telling the story. Most scholars suggested the water washed away everything that was, and then receded, and the ark came down on dry land. The Quran says it rested on Judi, which most scholars accept as being Mount Judi of northeastern Turkey. We don't know for sure, and that's okay. At last the word went forth from Allah, O earth, swallow up your water. O sky, withhold your deluge. And the torrent stopped, and the clouds cleared, and the waters began to recede, and the sun began to shine. And then the matter was ended. The ark rested on Mount Judi, and the word went forth, away with those who do wrong. Away with those who do wrong. Away with those who do wrong.
وقيل يا أرض ابلعي ماءك ويا سماء أقلعي وغيض الماء وقضي الأمر واستوت على الجودي وقيل بعدا للقوم الظالمين.
Now, Nuh aleyhisalam called upon his Lord, O my Lord, surely my son is of my family, and your promise is true, and you are the best of judges. And Allah, mighty and majestic, said, O Nuh, he is not of your family, for his conduct is unrighteous. So don't ask me of that which you have no knowledge. I give you counsel, lest you act like the ignorant. And like a true slave, Sayyidina Nuh answered, O my Lord, I seek refuge with you, lest I ask you for that of which I have no knowledge, and unless you forgive me and have mercy on me, I should indeed be lost.
قال رب إني أعوذ بك أن أسألك ما ليس لي به علم وإلا تغفر لي وترحمني أكن من الخاسرين.
Can you remember the first dua of Adam alayhi salam? ربنا ظلمنا أنفسنا وإن لم تغفر لنا وترحمنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. O our Lord, we have done damage to ourselves, and if you don't forgive us and have mercy on us, we will be among those who are lost. See how similar that is? The word came, O Nuh, come down from the ark with peace from us and blessings on you and some of the peoples who will spring from those with you. But there will be other peoples to whom we shall grant their pleasures for a time, but in the end will a grievous penalty reach them from us. The one who gets off the boat in heedlessness is caught in the weight of the physical bounded universe, but the one who gets off in the name of Allah enters the timeless splendor of barakah. And who is richer? These faithful, righteous followers and family of Nuh alayhi salam, however many or few there may have been, stepped again onto solid ground, bare and empty from the scouring of the flood. They would have built a fire on that new land, with firewood perhaps left over from their journey, and set up the kettle that would hold the world's first ashura, with the handfuls of wheat and beans and dried fruit still remaining in the ark, boiling away in the kettle. They would have guided all those animals down the plank, out of the craft, the domesticated ones that Allah Mighty and Majestic provided for their survival. And immediately they would have set to work, rebuilding shelters for themselves and for their animals, planting their seeds and exploring their ravaged land, which even then was beginning to glimmer with new growth. Truly, they were the only humans on the earth at that time, and this is why NUH aleyhisalam is known as the second father of humanity. New children were born and grew and had their own children, and as the years passed by, this tiny community soon enough grew and then spread, with people driven by adventure or curiosity to learn more or the wish for new frontiers. And once again the march of generations began, slowly filling the world with people, some of whom are on the way of Allah, and many of whom are on the way of Shaitan, just as it had begun before, in time out of mind, when Adam, peace upon him, and Hawa, may Allah be pleased with her, and Shaitan, may Allah keep him from us, were sent out of paradise as enemies of each other to live on the earth for a time. And Allah Mighty and Majestic tells us in Surah Al-Ankabut, in ayat 15, we saved Nuh and his companions of the ark, and we made it a sign for the worlds. A sign? Is it the ark? Or could it be that it is the happening? It's clearly true that this story has been preserved. Did you know that there are very few cultures in the world that did not have a flood story just like this? The oldest written evidence of such stories appeared more than 5,000 years ago, and we can be sure that people would have been hearing and sharing that story long before that. Imam Malik said, the way of the final prophet, may Allah bless him and give him peace, is Nuh's ark. Whoever boards it is saved, and whoever remains away from it perishes. So, embark on the ark. Remember your divine source and origins. Turn to him ever and yet again in repentance. The best of creation did that 70 times a day. May Allah bless him and give him peace. And Allah's mercy exceeds his wrath. Turn to him ever and yet again in gratitude, for he has promised increase in all that we give thanks for. Turn to him ever and yet again to declare your utter weakness and need, for none of us has life except as a gift from him who sustains us. Turn to him ever and yet again to declare your submission to his will. Turn to him ever and yet again to learn what he wants and expects from us. How can we please the one who is creating us in this very moment? Turn to him ever and yet again and ask him to make your grave a place of light. Turn to him ever and yet again and ask him to bring you across the great bridge with your face shining and allow you to meet your prophet, may Allah bless him and give him peace, who will be waiting especially for you at the pool. Turn to him ever and yet again and beg him to allow you to be one of the people of paradise. And no matter the turmoil and furor that engulfs you, you will know the peace and safety of the ark. And Allah Mighty and Majestic said, such, Muhammad, are some of the stories of the unseen, which we have revealed to you. Before this, neither you nor your people knew them. So persevere patiently, Muhammad, for the end is for those who are righteous. O Allah, Mighty and Majestic, hear our prayer. We are working to realize all that you have sent to us. Please expand our capacity to remember these stories and deeply understand their profound meanings. Please open the way for us to learn Arabic and to turn our skills to the benefit of the Ummah for your sake. In our next episode, we will encounter the people of Ad, who settled far to the south on the end of the Arabian Peninsula. When they began turning away from Allah, He sent Hud, aleyhisalam, to guide them back. Come back and listen. Liqa, until we meet again.